Hello, this is my demo for my UiPath Early Exit Handler framework. My purpose in creating this framework was to address an issue I've experienced fairly often, which is that a lot of the systems I'm programming with UiPath are actually legacy systems that potentially run very slowly. This means that some of my processes are very long processes, some of my front office robot processes are still very long processes, and occasionally I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep my computer on for the entire time that this robot's running, and I need to be able to quit the robot early or pause it. This framework was to help create a way whereby the robot will wrap that up smoothly rather than throwing me an error and potentially not creating the reports or whatever it is I need at the end. This was a way to wrap that up in a nice bow even if you have to exit early. So what we have going on here is we have a parallel for the main body of the early exit handler. The primary process is over here in this little sequence. This workflow, I strongly recommend that your primary workflow be in a state machine. The robotic enterprise framework is actually, it works excellently in concert with my early exit handler. So I would highly recommend that you use that. I've kind of created my own state machine here just for simplicity purposes, but I do highly recommend the REF framework. And you're going to have this Boolean process complete. Set that to true as soon as your primary workflow is complete. Now what that's going to do is whether you exit early from this process or whether the process completes normally, once it gets to that process complete, it will kick you out of this parallel. Now you could potentially have additional activities on the outside of the parallel, but that's essentially the end of your process right there. Unless you have additional wrap-up activities on the outside. Now the other part of this is going to be the monitor events activity. In my situation, I am monitoring for a control and a little squiggly press. That's going to let my robot know that I want to exit early from the process. Now you'll notice that the Boolean I have assigned here is called early exit. It's not called process complete. There's a reason for that. If you were to set this to process complete, it will actually try to kick you out of the parallel, but occasionally you can experience uncatchable errors when you do that, especially if, say, my primary workflow was working on a find image or something like that. At the point when I triggered this event, that could throw an error that's not even catchable even if I have that within a try catch. So I highly don't recommend that. But what this early exit is going to do instead is within our primary workflow here, again this is a state machine, at the end of each of these primary states we're going to have two options. You could potentially have more options. Again, if you use the REF framework, you might have an option for if you experience an error, you're going to have it going somewhere else. But the two primary options just for this framework need to be, is early exit true or false? So again, early exit was the Boolean you assign once that trigger is triggered, not the one you assign at the very end of your process. So if early exit is triggered, at the end of each of these states, you would send it to the early exit completion, and this could be your wrap-up activities. This could be closing applications, printing reports, whatever you need it to do. Otherwise, it will continue through, it will loop through as many times as it needs. Down here, you'll have a separate completion condition for if it completes normally. If it completes normally, you might have a slightly separate wrap-up process. But essentially what this allows you to do is it allows you to split up your process into as many small steps as you need to, so that once you click that keyboard shortcut, in my case, Control and that curly Q, it will exit out of here very quickly. So I have a quick example here. I just have a number of Excel documents that are going to be opened, and I'm going to choose to exit out of it early. So choosing where those Excel files are, again, it's just opening these, it's looking at them for a few seconds, and it's closing them. It's going to do this for about 6 files unless I choose to exit early. So now I'm going to go ahead and do my keyboard shortcut. I pressed it, and it says process exited early. This shows me that it went to this early exit completion, process exited early.